Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio. And now, here's our host, Dr. Vanessa Anceloni.
Welcome, dear listener, to Kardec Radio. Today the show is about insights with the renowned Haroldo Dutra Dias. And we have a lot to share with you because we have just been through a beautiful tour, a spiritist trip of Haroldo Dutra Dias in the United States of America, and we were especially honored with his presence here at Kardec Radio. We have a lot to share with you because Haroldo really delighted our minds and our hearts with his knowledge, with his charisma, and with his kind family, Claudia and João Gabriel. Spiritist trips are actually something that is quite particular in the Spiritist movement, something that emulates Allan Kardec's efforts, a concept in which we travel around to meet other Spiritist nuclei, groups, centers, and friends, sharing knowledge, experiences, encouraging one another to keep on going and marching towards this illumination of our society through the Spiritist teachings. There is much to know. And, of course, The Law of Society by Allan Kardec in the Spirit's book talks about it, talks about the fact that we progress faster when we have one another. And the presence of Haroldo Dutra Dias in the United States was quite important because he brought new ideas of his studies, as he is considered a scholar of the New Testament. He actually is the official translator of the New Testament from the ancient Greek to Portuguese. It's the actual first time in the world in which someone translates the New Testament from ancient Greek to Portuguese. And it's quite meaningful, and he's going to explain a little more during this interview to us here at Kardec Radio. Because as we got to know through his talks, throughout these 6 different states, the New Testament contains more information than we imagine. Many items were actually lost in translation, and Haroldo Dutra Dias rescued them. He's also a Spiritist scholar, a speaker in Brazil. Professionally, he is a judge of the state of Minas Gerais. He's quite young, but quite accomplished, and he has a great, adorable family who came along with him to support him and also to learn from this exchange, which is quite fascinating, and we're truly grateful for it. Today, we also want to remind you that in the Spiritist magazine, in the most current issue, Troubleshooting the Spiritist Center, which is issue 19th, access online at thespiritistmagazine.com. You can access it freely, and if you want your printout copy, you can order it at hpmagcloud.com. In that magazine, the latest issue, we dedicate a special article from the very book by Allan Kardec, The Spiritist Voyage in 1862, in which, much like Haroldo, he was touring around, sharing his experiences, the knowledge, the insights with others in other Spiritist groups. Remember, there is Bezerra Online Web Radio at Spiritist.com. It's our sister radio, coordinated by our friend Luis Salazar in Miami, Florida. They are putting together this great effort, which is the web radio Bezerra Online at Spiritist.com. And you know what? If you want to listen to it in other languages, you can, because Kardec Radio is there as well, retransmitted every day at least 3 times a day, while other programs are also being broadcast, such as in the Portuguese and Spanish languages. We would like to share with you the good news that the last show of Kardec Radio actually got more than 60,000 listeners all over the world. Right now, to kickstart the show is the interview with Haroldo Dutra Dias that we got here at Kardec Radio. Plus, we also are going to share with you a short interview that we did with the Master of Ceremony and member of the Spiritist Society of Virginia, John De Rosa, on his take on Haroldo's talks. You're going to enjoy it very much because the bottom line is that John de Rosa is expressing what many other people felt with Haroldo. So comfortable, they were mesmerized by his charisma, by his knowledge. We also would like to share with you in this program the most recent song written by a friend of Haroldo Dutra Dias from Brazil, James Marotta. He is a composer and a singer. We are going to be broadcasting one of his latest songs about spirits who departed. So, to kickstart right now the program with Emmanuel's message from the book and CD that we prepared and coordinated at the Spiritist Society of Baltimore, Enlightening Messages, the Prayer of Service by the renowned Emmanuel through Chico Xavier.
Prayer of Service. Lord, teach us to walk the enlightening path of service. Give us the strength to destroy the heavy fortress of our wrongdoings, the courage to pave the way to freedom from ourselves, and the means to unlock our hearts in favor of our neighbors, surrendering to them at last the treasures of love with which you entrusted us. Wherever we walk, may pain become less hurtful, ignorance less aggressive, hatred less cruel, darkness less dense, lethargy less shadowing, intolerance less destructive. If we do not yet possess the positive qualities to enrich our terrestrial journey, help us to mitigate the injustices that surround us. May we, in your name, distribute fraternity and renewal, and use with happiness the sublime and invisible gifts of silence, comprehension, and renunciation. Lord, who taught us without words the supreme lessons of simplicity in the cradle and of sacrifice in the cross, leading us toward spiritual development and divine resurrection. Guide our uncertain walk and help our sanctified propositions, so that your will, merciful and just, be unto us, with us, and for us, today and forever, wherever we may be. So be it.
We will return to our program after these messages.
Kardec Radio, live every Saturday at 11 a.m.
Nourish your soul with Kardec Radio.
The International Spiritist Council is organizing and promoting the 7th World Spiritist Congress, which will be held in Havana, Cuba on March 23rd through the 25th of 2013. The Congress theme will be Charity and Spiritual Education in Building a World of Peace. 150 years of the Gospel according to Spiritism. For more information, please visit www.7cem.org.
Nourish your soul with Kardec Radio.
A new great book and tool for kids and educators. The children's book, Our Father by the Spirit May, psychographed by Chico Xavier, is available for purchase at www.edisayofamerica.com. Buy your copy today.
And now we return to our program.
So, dear listener, we are honored to have here with us at Kardec Radio Studios in Chantilly, Virginia, the renowned magistrate and also spiritist scholar and speaker and translator of the New Testament from ancient Greek to Portuguese, directly from Brazil, in Kardec Radio Studio. Physical presence, Haroldo Dutra Dias. Thank you so much, Haroldo, for being with us at Kardec Radio today.
Vanessa, I feel grateful for the invitation and participating in this program.
Haroldo, as you're here in a major spiritist trip in the United States, you're going to cover at least 6 states, from Massachusetts to Maryland, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Illinois, and Florida. So it reminds us much of Allan Kardec and his memorable spiritist trips in France and even Belgium. Some of his speeches were actually published in the book The Spiritist Voyage in 1862, though it's not translated into English yet. It's in Portuguese and in French. What would be your thoughts in that regard?
What calls our attention in the book Spiritist Voyage is the decision of the codifier in committing to the responsibility with the dissemination of Spiritism through talks, his personal presence in the establishment of relationship focusing on the formation of Spiritism practitioners. This reveals the dynamic component of Spiritism that does not restrict itself to the written texts. Instead, it encompasses the example and the testimonial of the codifier who is committed to the dissemination of Spiritism for the consolation of the souls. In this book, Spiritism Voyage, we are impressed with Kardec, who not only expressed his wisdom, but also his generosity, his humility, his tolerance, and other virtues of the true Christian. In summary, we observe the man of goodness who Allan Kardec was in full activity.
So as you're here, you're going to prepare and give many different talks with different themes, as we mentioned, in 6 different states of the United States. Can you share with us the rationale behind the different themes of the talks you're going to give?
The themes of these talks were inspired on the example of Kardec, and it encompasses the attitude of Spiritist practitioners who are committed with the teachings of the Gospel. Kardec gave living testimony of the teachings of Jesus in his written teachings, his speeches, and his behavior, especially in regard to the relationship with others. He then offered us his legacy that leads us to the testimonial of the early Christians in the book Paul and Stephen.
Right now, dear listener, we'd like to share with you, before we keep on going in this amazing interview with Haroldo Dutra Dias, some feedback that we got from some Americans in the United States that attended the talks with Haroldo Dutra Dias. Amongst them, a member of the Spiritist Society of Virginia, John DeRosa, who is actually the Master of Ceremony together with Carol Stroh-Snyder in the special event we coordinated in collaboration between the Spiritist Society of Virginia and the Spiritist Society of Baltimore, also sponsored by Kardec Radio and DP Maintenance. We'd like to share with you some thoughts regarding the take of these American friends about Haroldo Dutra Dias talks. Thank you so much, John DeRosa, for being with us at Kardec Radio today.
It's my pleasure, Vanessa, to be with you.
So, John, you were the Master of Ceremony of the event we coordinated in Pennsylvania, dedicated to the Spiritist view on cancer and also a tribute to our dear Selene Shepherd. What was your major take on that event, and especially on Haroldo's participation on the event?
That was a very powerful event in Pennsylvania. Haroldo sealed the whole delivery with his talk about how Christ heals, or how Christ healed when he was on earth, because he had read the old scriptures in Greek for the New Testament. And how close can you get? I mean, he got as close as you possibly could be, unless you were there at that particular time, if you had reincarnated in Christ.
And John, now about Haroldo, the person. You were helping us on the behind the scenes of these 3 major events, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Virginia. It was the actual first time you encountered with Haroldo Dutra Dias. What is your personal take in that regard?
First and foremost, he is humble. He is such a learned individual. It's obvious if you just hear him talk, or you understood a little bit of his background, as what he's educated himself in. But humble is the first thing that comes to my mind.
Now we're going to give a short break. When we come back, there is more insights with Haroldo Dutra Dias.
We will return to our program after these messages.
Enjoy this new release. Reborn for Love by the renowned Brazilian scientist and researcher on reincarnation, Dr. Hernani Andrade. This novel describes one of the most extraordinary and genuine cases of reincarnation ever studied by Dr. Andrade's Brazilian Institute of Psychobiophysics Research in Sao Paulo State. Order your copy now at roundtable.uk@gmail.com or at www.roundtablepublishing-uk.com.
Spiritist Network, your gateway to on-demand Spiritist videos, www.spiritistnetwork.com.
Spread the word. Kardec Radio, to learn more about Spiritism.
Want to find a good way to explain life after physical death to kids or teenagers? Check out the book Message from a Teen in the Spirit World by the Spirit Neo Lucio and psychographed by Chico Xavier. In this book, a teenager named Carlos explains his impressions on the new life in the spirit realm with his discarnate relatives and new friends. Purchase your copy online at www.ssbaltimore.org.
The Spiritist Magazine is a trimestral, digital periodical that publishes the latest news on the Spiritist thought and the movement in the USA and worldwide. Subscribe now at www.spiritistmagazine.com.
In the book, A Primer on Being Good by the Spirit May, psychographed by the medium Chico Xavier, explains in simple language appropriate for children two paths in life, the path of good or the path of evil. God has granted us the freedom to choose either one. Purchase your copy online at www.ssbaltimore.org.
Now we return to our program.
Dear listener, we are here talking with Haroldo Dutra Dias, the renowned Spiritist scholar from Brazil, who has been visiting the United States, sharing his knowledge, his kindness, and experiences with different groups around the United States. Haroldo, one of your main studies has been on the book Paul and Stephen by Emmanuel, through the very blessed hands of the medium Chico Xavier. A true bestseller, and as you say, it deserves the special award for the masterpiece that the book represents. Can you let us know more about the importance and the relevance of this book, please?
Chico Xavier used to say that the book Paul and Stephen was one of his favorites, and many said that it is a true manual of Christian Spiritists. In this book, we find a description of the challenges, of the struggles, of the anguishes, of the hopes, and of the joys of the early Christians. This work helps us understand that the apostles were people with the same difficulties as ours, but deeply committed with the perfecting of themselves and the community they used to live in and do the loving lesson received direct from the hands of Jesus. In the book Paul and Stephen, we learn that love overcomes the multitude of our difficulties.
Now, Haroldo, many of us already know that you have translated the New Testament from ancient Greek into Portuguese. What was the main objective of this translation, and what is the difference from the other ones that have been existent to date?
It is important to highlight that the teaching and the example of Jesus occurred 2,000 years ago in a language, culture, and geographical site very different from ours. It is necessary to overcome this cultural abyss to find the originality of the message. In this translation, our objective is to highlight the literary aspect that characterized the 27 books of the Gospel. For this reason, we emphasize the linguistic aspects, the idiomatic expression, the cultural difference, in order to offer help to the readers in the rescuing these elements. This is not a theological work, but a literary purpose. After all, these are the most famous books of our worldwide literature.
Yeah, that's amazing. We truly agree. We agree that we need greater studies and understanding, Haroldo, to really get to know more about the message of the Christ. Now, one of the things that you have been doing with your group in Brazil is a special institute for the study and research entitled SER, S-E-R. And can you tell us more about what this organization represents?
SER Institute is a spiritist organization that aims to stimulate interfaith dialogue with the objective of emphasizing and highlighting the role of spiritism in the construction of a new world where love and wisdom are the true fundamentals of religiosity and spirituality. To achieve this goal, the Institute searches for dialogue, promotes collaborative research, and also cultural and artistic presentation, while search for touching people in the advantage of the dialogue and fraternity in the human relationships. What we aim, as of the foundation of the Institute SER, is only to put in practice what Spiritist teachings. Without charity, there is no salvation.
Yes, as you said, Haroldo, one of the objectives of this organization is to actually put in practice the Spiritist teachings. And that's what we need around the world. We hope you gather other collaborators, not only in Brazil, but around the world, for the amazing work you guys have been doing, especially with the program 7 Minutes with Emmanuel. We really need to rescue the teachings that were brought in the Spiritist Foundation. Now, in that work as well, it encompasses, as we know, 2 literal musical seminars that were quite amazing. One on the book that is already in English, On the Way to the Light by Emmanuel, and another one on the very book, Paul and Stephen, which celebrates 70 years this year. And you have already discussed a little bit about it. What is the purpose of these events that you coordinated in Brazil?
The literal musical seminar search to conjugate the work of art with responsible enlightenment. Its purpose is to touch people's hearts to the greatness of the Spiritist message, because we believe that truth is beautiful, generous, and subtle. As Mahatma Gandhi said, truth is resistant like a diamond, but delicate like a peach tree flower. Our goal in this seminar is to educate the way of look so that people can see the delicate aspect of this flower.
Well, dear listeners, right now, to get you a feeling about what these events were all about, we're going to stream to you one that was actually broadcast at one of the literal musical seminars by Haroldo Dutra Dias, the one on the book On the Way to the Light, a music that was composed by James Marotta, Holy Night. Let us listen to this, and we'll be back after the break with Haroldo Dutra Dias.
Christmas night.
We will return to our program after these messages.
Kardec Radio, live, every Saturday at 11 a.m.
Nourish your soul with Kardec Radio.
A new great book and tool for kids and educators. The children's book, Our Father by the Spirit May, psychographed by Chico Xavier, is available for purchase at www.edisayofamerica.com. Buy your copy today.
Kardec Radio, to learn more about Spiritism.
The newest edition of the Medium's Book by Allan Kardec is now available. Purchase your copy online or via your ebook reader. Simply go to www.edicofamerica.com today.
Nourish your soul with Kardec Radio.
Spiritism for Everyone, the online study of the Spirit's Book and the Gospel according to Spiritism. Spiritism for Everyone meets every Wednesday evening and Saturday morning using the latest technology in web conferencing. You can join in from any computer in the comfort of your home or office, no matter where you are in the U.S. or the world. Spiritism for Everyone is open, free, and requires no registration. To access the web live meetings, go to www.spiritus.us. Spiritism for Everyone is a program of the United States Spiritist Council.
And now we return to our program.
Dear listener, we hope you are enjoying very, very much this interview and the insights that Haroldo is sharing with us, though brief but very powerful, about his experience and the works that he has been doing with his group in Brazil in support and collaboration also of the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. These days, Haroldo, as we are here, a few days before you actually travel to the United States, the renowned Haroldo Rocha, who was a good friend of Chico Xavier and worked with him for more than 60 years in mediumistic meetings, he actually discarnated. And we know you were also quite close to him. We also had an opportunity to be present at one of his mediumistic meetings, the ones that he used to coordinate. Can you tell us more about this great heart and mind that is Haroldo Rocha?
I feel truly honored for having known Haroldo Rocha, and mostly for the fact that I saw him in the exercise of this preferred activity, the conversation with the spirits. During many years, Haroldo Rocha coordinated the mediumistic meetings where Chico Xavier used to attend. With Emmanuel, Haroldo learned to dialogue with the spirits. He exercised this activity with commitment, dedication, and profound love. His voice was capable of touching the hardest hearts. Another great lesson learned with Haroldo Rocha was the fact that he was the true Spiritist person who needs to be authentic, avoiding all the means of concealment, of lie, and of dishonest.
Yes, Haroldo, we would say that Haroldo Rocha left many lessons here for us. He was certainly recruited by the higher spirits to work in this teamwork fashion with Chico Xavier and many others to bring the continuation of the Spiritist teachings to us here in the current world. Now, we don't want to let you go, but we know time is running, and we'd like to ask you to share your final thoughts with Kardec Radio listeners today.
This country was born committed with freedom and the dignity of the human being. For the reason we believe that the freeing aspect of teachings of Spiritism will be absorbed by the American people, making possible the construction of a new type of citizenship, the universal citizenship of the immortal being, committed as is with both the material and the spiritual development of all the peoples.
Thank you, Haroldo, so much for this interview and everything you have given us these days in the United States. We wish you the best in your trip back home with your family. Dear listener, we hope you have enjoyed and you also feel inspired. You may be asking at this point, where can you get a hold of the videotapes of Haroldo Dutra Dias talks? We can assure you that tonight, December 1st at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, United States of America, the Spiritist Society of Baltimore, in collaboration with the International Spiritist Council's TV, tvsay.com, will broadcast the event that we put together in Pennsylvania with Haroldo Dutra Dias. It's the Spiritist View on Cancer tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States of America. You can access at the Spiritist Society of Baltimore's website at www.ssbaltimore.org or tvcei.com, channel 2. You can go there and access it. We will make available the other talks in Baltimore and Virginia very, very soon. By the way, at the end of December, on the show of December 29th, we'll be able to stream some of his talks through Kardec Radio as well. For now, we are going to give a short break, and when we come back, we have the beautiful segments with the collaborators of Kardec Radio. From the segment with Marco and Joyce Magalhães, as well as Kirsten de Mello, Bernadette Leal, Naur Fonseca, and Gabi Ferreira. And at the very, very end, please stay with us because we're going to pray together for a better world, peaceful one, and togetherness as well.
We will return to our program after these messages.
For the first time ever, the book Between Heaven and Earth by the Spirit André Luiz, psychographed by Chico Xavier, is now in English. This is a novel that offers information about the relationship that exists in the activities of the Spirit on the two planes of life. Purchase your copy today at www.edisayofamerica.com.
Nourish your soul with Kardec Radio.
Now in English, the book Action and Reaction by the Spirit André Luiz, psychographed by Chico Xavier. Buy your copy online or via your ebook reader. Go to www.ediceiofamerica.com today. The International Spiritist Council is organizing and promoting the 7th World Spiritist Congress, which will be held in Havana, Cuba on March 23rd through the 25th of 2013. The Congress theme will be Charity and Spiritual Education in Building a World of Peace. 150 years of the Gospel according to Spiritism. For more information, please visit www.7cem.org.
And now we return to our program.
Hello, dear Kardec Radio listener. Welcome to our segment, Spiritism in Your Life. In today's segment, we're going to talk about the Spirit Emmanuel. As you might remember, the Spirit Emmanuel was the spiritual guide of Chico Xavier. While he helped Chico Xavier achieve this amazing task of psychographing over 400 books, Emmanuel also brought to us some very interesting points and knowledge about Jesus, about his teachings, about discipline, and so many other important things for our spiritual evolution. The spiritual Emmanuel presented to Chico Xavier for the first time in 1931, and from that point on, they continued this very, very close relationship of friendship, respect, work, trust, and above all, love. Throughout his novels, Emmanuel brought to us some important aspects of his previous incarnations. Emmanuel incarnated as the Roman Publius Lentulus Cornelius, and later on as Publius Lentulus Sura, which is the main character of the romance 2,000 years ago. At that time, Emmanuel, incarnated as Publius, showed himself of this noble, proud Roman who had a chance to meet Jesus. But at that time, he was not ready yet to understand who Jesus was, to understand how deep his teachings were. And although he had plenty of chances of studying it, understanding it, embracing this new idea of love and charity, he was still not able to do it because of his pride. Publius Lentulus disincarnated in the year 79 after the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, which destroyed the city of Pompeii. Approximately 50 years later, in the year 131, Emmanuel incarnated again, this time as Nestorio, a slave from Jewish origin who since the early ages of this existence accepted the concepts of Jesus and was faithful to this message of love brought by Jesus Christ. And he was able to keep his faith up to the last minute of this existence, and together with his son, which was also a slave at some point, was killed in one of the Roman circus. And, as he describes in the book, in a very, very dramatic scene, he's killed by poisoned arrows while praying for God. Shortly after that, around the year 217, he is incarnated on earth again, but this time as Quinto Varro, but now a Roman that cultivated the ideas of liberty above everything else. Now he was able to solidify his faith in Jesus and understand all these new concepts of loving each other, of charity, of changing things, of evolution. His ideas now are clearly in conflict with the dominating ideas of the Roman Empire, and as a consequence of multiple actions, he is again killed by decapitation. Approximately 11 years later, he incarnates again with the name of Quinto Celso, which again, since early ages, has an impressive memory, understanding, and intelligence. And, of course, with pure, solid Christian ideas. And one more time, defending those ideas, he is killed in the Roman circus with only 14 years of age. His last described incarnation was in 1517 with the name of Manuel da Nóbrega, during the time of Dom Manuel I. In this incarnation, he had the same intelligence and strong faith. He then travels to Brazil and actively participated in the foundation of the city of São Paulo in the 25th of January of 1554, and continued in Brazil an important work through the dissemination of Christian principles. We're now coming to the end of our segment, and we would like to select a message from one of the many books brought to us by the spiritual Emmanuel through the mediumship of Chico Xavier. And his enlightening words are contained in the book Our Daily Bread. The message is called, "This is the Message." This is the message you heard from the beginning. We should love one another. John chapter 3, versicle 11. All over the world, we feel this tremendous anxiety to receive new messages from heaven. Dynamic forces of the mind insist on receiving modern expressions of old truth, rehearsing varied mental creations. We notice, however, that art seeks new experiments and it becomes filled with negative images. We also notice that politics invents ideologies and processes that are unheard of in governing and expands the course of destructive war, and that science seeks to defer higher flights and institutes disrupting theories of well-being and harmony. Large religious orders achieve heroic work demonstrating the eternity of life, begging for spectacular signs from the invisible kingdom to the common man. We agree that there shall always be benefit in the elevated aspirations of the human spirit when sincerely seeking vibrations of a divine nature. However, we must realize that if there are many substantial constructive illuminating messages on earth, the greatest and most precious of all, from the origin of the planetary organization is the one regarding fraternal solidarity and we should love one another. This is the primary recommendation. By feeling it, each apprentice can examine in life's daily cycle of struggle the index of understanding that he already holds regarding the divine designs. Even though this or that person has not as yet understood it, initiate the execution of the paternal advice within you. Extend love always. Do good always. You start out by having esteem for those who do not understand you, convinced that they, much sooner, will do better for you. Thank you very much, my friends, and God bless us.
They're not here. It feels like life is not worth living because they take a piece of our heart away with them. It's true. But what if I said they're not really gone? What if I said they're just beyond your sight? They're not lost in the stars, and sometimes not even far from you. But they hear your prayers, and they see your pain. Take my word on that. Just listen to the messages they've left. They're back to let us know they live beyond the curtain of our tears, beyond the illusion of this world. They're back to let us know they They care even more about the things that really matter. They're not lost in the stars, and sometimes not even far from you. But they hear your prayers, and they see your pain. You don't have to take my word on that. Just listen to the messages they've left. They're back to let us know they live beyond the curtain of our beyond the illusion of this world. They're back to let us know they
Hello, dear friends of Kardec Radio, and welcome back to the Spiritist Moment. Let us contemplate as we begin a new series on the law of reproduction. It's part 3 of the Spirit's book, the second law. It's very interesting. Questions 686 and 687. Something very interesting for us to reflect about because it still applies to us today. Let us read. Question 686 is posed like this. Is the reproduction of living beings a law of nature? And the Spirit's answer, obviously. Without reproduction, the corporeal world would die out. So, for us, dear listeners, it makes complete sense. Production must occur in reference to living beings, or we would cease to exist. And then 687, the question is posed like this. If the population continues to follow the constant progression that we now see, will a time come in which it is too excessive for the earth? The Spirits wisely answer, no. God has foreseen this and always keep everything in balance. God does nothing useless. Since they only see one angle of the picture of nature, humans are unable to perceive the harmony of the whole. And so this is interesting. There are still today societies and cultures that believe in this necessity and implement this necessity of keeping the reproduction of children to a minimum. There are certain cultures, such as the Asian, or more specifically the Chinese, they are limited to just one child, or that is their belief system. Well, we go to Spiritism, as we read in the Spirit's book, but we also utilize Joanna DeAngelis in the book After the Storm. Very interesting. Chapter 10, that's entitled Contraceptives and Family Planning, she talks about this very aspect of the law of reproduction. And she tells us in this particular chapter the necessity we have to be responsible. And she goes, and we quote, that man may and should plan the family he wants to have, such as the number of children and the right period for maternity. But he can never evade the compelling expiations that are his to fulfill in relation to previous lives. She even goes on to tell us that we have the right, we have free will, to even deny the spirits that were meant to reincarnate as our children. We have the right to deny them their incarnation. But Joanna DeAngelis tells us in chapter 10 of this book, After the Storm, she tells us that, well, we may deny it, but in some form, shape, or another, those children, those spirits will come knocking on our doors. And she even brings to light a spiritual, very spiritual aspect, because oftentimes when we talk about the reproduction, when we talk about this particular aspect, many people look at it from a very materialistic standpoint. Oftentimes there is talk of controlling the population. Back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was this theorist, his name was Malthus, and he talked about the need to control this reproduction of children, soon to be older adults, because according to his theory, overpopulation would cause an increase in poverty, which in fact hasn't necessarily happened. As we see, our societies have learned to adapt and find new ways to create more food and more room, really, in layman's terms. But to look at it from a spiritual perspective, or more so a spiritist perspective, and Joanna DeAngelis brings to us, she said that children, however, are not the product of mere chance, resulting from some random events in life. So we see that the children we have are not by chance. They're not just random, like a lottery that's drawn and boom, they get picked. It's all in the divine plan, believe it or not. Although she tells us in this particular chapter that we should be disciplined and organized and, most importantly, responsible when we are planning our children, but also not too much to the extreme as well, as she touches on this. So the thoughts we reflect on and we leave you with are two major points. One, as Joanna DeAngelis tells us, we should be responsible in our actions, especially when it comes to contraceptives and family planning, but also have faith and know that, as the question 687, the spirits tell us, God does nothing useless. God has foreseen all things and always keeps everything in balance. And we leave you with the words of Joanna DeAngelis at the end of chapter 10. She states, keep the moral codes etched in your spirit and plan your family with confidence, surrendering your affairs to God and trusting in all things good, for ultimately Everything proceeds from Him, God, the watchful Father of us all. And until next time, we wish you many blessings.
Welcome to our Youth Education in Spiritism with Kardec Radio. I am Bernadette Leal, and I'll be spending a few minutes with you, inspiring to bring spiritual awareness and spiritist teachings to our youth, parents, and educators. We are starting a new topic. We'll be talking about peace and conflict. And today's question is, how can conflict affect our inner peace? Let's start by asking ourselves what we understand by peace. There are books on peace, people talking about peace, and many leaders and role models who lived a life of peace and expressed the importance of peace on earth. But what is peace? Well, in simple words, peace is the absence of conflict. Therefore, wherever there is conflict, there is no peace. Conflict can be within us or outside of us. It can be in our minds, at home, at our work, or in our relationships. The origin of conflict is in our hurt ego and the lack of tolerance to others. It is a result of our imperfections from many reincarnations, and that we should put great effort to overcome it. Conflict happens because we, eternal spirits, fail to follow Jesus' teachings when He said, "Love your neighbor as yourself, and do to others what you would have them do to you." Chapter 11 of the Gospel According to Spiritism by Allan Kardec explains that when we adopt these commandments as a rule of conduct and apply them to all our human institutions, we'll begin to understand true brotherhood. Only then will it become possible for peace and justice to rule on the planet. Conflict also occurs when we act with a sense of superiority, not accepting that people may not agree with us and are entitled to different opinion, or when we feel we are not in control. In fact, having control is very important in order to have peace. Not control over others or some situations, but control over ourselves, and by developing the discipline of maintaining a peaceful state of mind. When we do not control our negative feelings, words, actions, and reactions, conflict will be knocking on our door and sending away our inner peace. Being in peace does not necessarily mean that we are always in a joyful state of mind, which would be wonderful and a great goal to pursue, because life presents us with some challenges and we may get upset once in a while. But peace is the ability to stay calm to handle whatever situation we may be facing, even when we are going through some difficult times. It is also important to have faith, knowing that God is the source, and He will give us the strength and wisdom to handle our temporary challenges. Conflict is also in our minds, mainly when we have a high expectation on people and on how life should be presented to us. We know what we want, when we want, and how we want. But we forget that God may have different plans for us. We treat God as if He was a vending machine and that all we have to do is to insert our wish coin into the slot. And what we ask for will easily fall in our hands. So, when we do not receive what we want and the way we want, we get frustrated, which disturbs our inner peace. Peace is very important when we pray. Many of us pray at moments we feel despair or do not know what to do. But it's very helpful to calm our minds down when praying. A peaceful mind opens our heart and mind to better listen to our spiritual mentor and be inspired on what to do. Peace requires discipline. Learning to slow down, breathe, meditate, and saying affirmations are essential to develop a positive and peaceful state of mind. Peace needs to go beyond the conversational level and become an action, a lifestyle. We can start now by practicing on achieving inner peace and becoming an instrument of peace in everything we do, everywhere we go. We hear that the world needs more peace. But in order to get there, dear listeners, each one of us needs to do our part. Peace starts with us, as Paul the Apostle said in his second letter to the Corinthians 13:11. Finally, brothers and sisters, rejoice. Strive for full restoration. Encourage one another. Be of one mind. Live in peace. And the God of love and peace will be with you. Also, question 789 of the Spirit's book inspires us by saying, when the divine laws have genuinely inspired the codes of law in every nation, love will reign among you, as well as among your nations. All will live in peace. Kardec Radio listeners, conflict takes away our inner peace. We should be alert to our negative tendencies, watch our selfish behavior, and replace them with love. We need to take the time every day to dedicate to our inner peace, and as we change ourselves, we will change the world. And we will end the segment with the words of this beautiful peace song by Jill Jackson and Sim Miller called Let There Be Peace on Earth. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God there's a Father, brothers are we. Let me walk with my brother in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take it moment and live its moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Thanks for listening to Yes. And if you have any question that would like us to answer here in this segment, please email them to kardec@kardecradio.com.
Right now, dear listener, we invite you for a special prayer. We hope you have enjoyed the whole program today. And let us pray, because prayer is real communication with our Creator and also a special mechanism for us to reach higher inspiration, protection. Let us elevate our thoughts and feel the presence of God in our lives, ridding our minds and hearts of judgment, self-judgment, and judgment of others. Though natural, it is much better for all of us to allow judgment to go by in each of our consciences, whereas we learn a new beginning always in our lives. Dear Lord, Father, Mother of our lives, we're so grateful for the opportunity of having had Haroldo Dutra Dias and his family amongst us, bringing new teachings, insights, inspiration, and encouragement for all of us in the United States, in both realms of life. We thank you also the teachings that have been inspiring him and all of us to share the many benefits that we have been receiving spiritually speaking. We request specially a shower of healing light to some of the most critical areas of battle in the Middle East. May laws of light and love be brought to all the hearts and minds of all of our brothers and sisters in nature itself, so we can reach higher levels of inspiration in our world. And so be it. Dear listener, we rejoice in this moment with you, and next week, December 8th, we have more. We have a special guest, Dr. Jean Carpenter, talking about extrasensorial perception and parapsychology. And we're going to have a wonderful conversation with his kind heart, and we hope you enjoy as well. For now, we wish you many blessings.
Thank you for listening to Kardec Radio, broadcasting live every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Email us and share your comments at www.kardecradio.com. Until next time, we wish you many blessings.